7 signs you're a woman chosen by God. Don't ignore this. There's something powerful stirring deep within your heart that you can't quite explain. It's not ambition, it's not emotion. It's a quiet fire that keeps burning, even when life tries to put it out. You feel it in your spirit when you're alone, when the world is loud but your soul longs for something higher, something holy. And maybe, just maybe, you've started to wonder why your path feels so different, why your trials seem harder, why God seems to call you to walk away from things others freely enjoy. You might not realize it yet, but that ache in your spirit is a divine signal. You are being set apart because you are a woman chosen by God. Being chosen doesn't mean being perfect, and it doesn't always mean being celebrated. In fact, it often means the opposite. It means walking through seasons where God hides you while He builds you. It means being refined in secret, while others seem to rise in public. It means learning to trust God when nothing makes sense, and believing His promise when all you can see is pain. But chosen women, real God-anointed women, understand something deep down. The breaking comes before the blessing. The pruning comes before the power. Throughout history, God has always worked through women who were willing to say yes, not because they were flawless, but because they were faithful. Women like Mary, who said yes to an impossible calling. Women like Ruth, who left everything familiar to follow a divine path. Women like Esther, who risked her life for the sake of her people. Their stories were not easy, but their obedience changed the course of history. And just like them, your story is unfolding under the watchful eyes of heaven. So if you've ever felt out of place, if your spirit feels restless in this world, if you've walked through storms that nearly broke you, but somehow didn't, that's not by accident. It's evidence that you've been marked for a purpose. God doesn't choose the loudest or the most popular. He chooses the surrendered, the ones who are willing to let Him lead, even when they don't understand the path. In this message, we're going to talk about the 7 unmistakable signs that reveal you are a woman chosen by God, not by chance, not by human opinion, but by divine design. And as you listen, you might start to see your own story differently. Every heartbreak, every delay, every miracle, every prayer that felt unanswered, all of it has been God's way of shaping you. So take a deep breath, quiet your heart, and open your spirit. Because by the end of this, you'll see that your life has never been random. You've been chosen, and heaven has been writing your name in its story all along. Number 1. You carry an unexplainable calling deep within your spirit. There's a divine stirring in the heart of every woman chosen by God, a call that cannot be explained or silenced. It doesn't come from ambition or the desire to be seen, but from a deep awareness that your life has meaning beyond yourself. You might not have the full picture yet, but you know that you were created for something holy, something eternal. It's like a quiet whisper that follows you even when you try to ignore it. No matter how far you drift, that voice keeps pulling you back to God's purpose. That's not coincidence, that's calling. This calling often begins long before you even understand it. Jeremiah 1:5 reminds us, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." That means your purpose didn't start the day you discovered it. It started the moment God imagined you. Every detail of your life, from your strengths to your scars, has been woven together for a reason. And when you're chosen, you can feel that divine thread pulling on your soul. But carrying a calling is both beautiful and heavy. It can make you feel misunderstood, even by those closest to you. You might question why you can't seem to settle for the ordinary, why certain environments or conversations suddenly feel too small for your spirit. It's because God is setting you apart. He's preparing you for something sacred, and preparation always begins in the unseen. Think of Mary, the young woman who carried the Savior of the world. Before the miracle came the mystery, a quiet call that disrupted her life. She didn't fully understand what God was doing, but she said yes anyway. That's what a chosen woman does. She listens, she obeys, she trusts that the God who called her will also equip her. So if you feel a burning desire to impact lives, to serve, to create, to build, to love in ways that seem impossible, don't dismiss it. That's heaven speaking through your heart. You carry a calling too deep for the world to understand, and too divine for the enemy to destroy. Number 2. You've faced unusual trials that don't make sense. Every woman chosen by God walks through fire, not because she's done something wrong, but because she's seeing refined for something greater. Your trials are not random, they're tailored. Each hardship, each heartbreak, each betrayal is a tool in God's hand, shaping you into the vessel He needs. You've probably wondered, why do I have to go through so much? But the truth is, the higher the calling, the deeper the testing. Look at Joseph, called by God to lead a nation, yet thrown into a pit and a prison before the palace. Or Job, who lost everything yet found God in the ashes. Even Mary, chosen to carry the Messiah, faced rumors, rejection, and fear. The chosen life is not easy, because it's meant to build endurance. Romans 5:3-4 says we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope. That's the process of the chosen. Sometimes the trials you face don't even make sense to others. People may look at your life and see loss, while heaven sees preparation. The devil attacks what threatens him, and your perseverance threatens the kingdom of darkness. That's why chosen women often face opposition at every stage, because the enemy sees the crown before you do. But remember, no storm can cancel God's purpose. When you're chosen, even your pain has purpose. The betrayals teach you discernment. The heartbreaks teach you compassion. The closed doors teach you patience. God is not punishing you, He's preparing you. He's teaching you how to stand firm when the world shakes, how to hear His voice when everything else goes silent. So if your life feels like a series of battles, don't lose heart. You're not cursed. You're called. You're being trained in the wilderness because your promised land is near. The trials aren't meant to destroy you. They're meant to prove you. God allows the fire not to burn you, but to refine you until His reflection shines through your soul. And when that happens, everyone will see, this woman has been with God. Number 3. You are drawn to righteousness, even when it costs you. There comes a moment in every chosen woman's journey when her heart begins to change. Not out of religion, but out of reverence. The things that used to satisfy her no longer do. The conversations, habits, or relationships that once felt comfortable now feel heavy. It's not because she's become better than anyone else, but because the Holy Spirit is awakening her conscience. She starts to crave purity, truth, and alignment with God's will more than the approval of people. That inner pull toward righteousness is one of the clearest signs of divine calling. When God chooses you, He places His Spirit inside you, and that Spirit refuses to coexist with the things of the world. You might notice that sin doesn't sit well in your heart anymore. You can't lie without feeling convicted. You can't gossip without feeling the sting of guilt. You can't keep ignoring God's voice without sensing that something inside you is breaking. That's not weakness. That's holiness being born. It's evidence that you belong to Him. Psalm 51 gives us a glimpse of this heart. After his failure, David cried out, "Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me." He wasn't asking for success, power, or recognition. He was asking for restoration. That's what chosen women long for too. Their greatest desire isn't to be seen by men, but to be right before God. They would rather lose opportunities than lose His presence. They would rather walk alone in obedience than be surrounded in compromise. This path isn't easy. Choosing righteousness will cost you relationships, comfort, and sometimes even reputation. But it will never cost you peace. When you obey God, even through tears, heaven celebrates. And over time, your obedience becomes your strength. You begin to see how God honors integrity, how He protects those who stand for truth even when it hurts. So if you feel that constant nudge in your heart, that conviction that won't let you settle, know that it's not condemnation. It's calling. It's God shaping your character to match your purpose. Because a woman chosen by God isn't defined by perfection. She's defined by pursuit. Her pursuit of righteousness becomes her worship, and her obedience becomes her testimony. Number 4, you feel isolated, yet God uses that solitude to shape you. One of the most painful yet powerful signs of being chosen by God is isolation. Not everyone will understand your walk, your convictions, or your calling, and that's by divine design. There will be seasons when you feel separated from friends, misunderstood by family, or overlooked by people you thought would stand with you. It's a lonely path, but it's a holy one, because isolation is where God does His deepest work. Before God uses a woman publicly, He refines her privately. Think about Esther. Before she became queen, she spent months in preparation, hidden away, being purified and anointed. Or consider Hannah, who prayed in tears while others mocked her. Or Ruth, who left everything familiar to follow a destiny she couldn't yet see. Their isolation wasn't punishment. It was positioning. God often removes distractions so that His voice becomes the only one you can hear. When you're chosen, God will sometimes close doors not to hurt you, but to protect you. He'll silence relationships that drain your spirit. He'll slow your plans so He can strengthen your foundation. You'll feel forgotten, but in reality, you're being guarded. Psalm 46:10 says, "Be still and know that I am God." Stillness is not inactivity, it's intimacy. It's the space where you learn to depend on Him completely. During these seasons of solitude, God reveals your identity. He teaches you to hear His whispers instead of chasing noise. He purges the desire for validation and replaces it with a hunger for His presence. And when you finally emerge from that hidden place, you'll realize that the silence wasn't empty, it was sacred. It was the womb of your transformation. So if you find yourself alone right now, don't mistake it for abandonment. You are not being isolated because you're unworthy. You're being isolated because you're chosen. God hides His best work until it's ready. He's not keeping you back. He's setting you apart. And when the time is right, the same God who hid you will reveal you, stronger, wiser, and more radiant than ever before. Number 5, you see God's hand in every season of your life. A woman chosen by God learns that nothing in her life happens by accident. Every blessing, every delay, every heartbreak carries the fingerprints of divine purpose. The world calls it coincidence, but you've come to see it as orchestration. You begin to notice how every event, even the painful ones, somehow connects into a larger story that only God could write. It's as if heaven itself has been guiding your steps, rearranging your path to align with your destiny. Romans 8:28 promises, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." That verse becomes more than just words on a page. It becomes the lens through which you interpret your life. You start realizing that the closed doors were protection. The disappointments were redirection. The moments that broke you were the same moments God used to build you. You might not have seen it while you were in the storm, but looking back, you can trace His hand through it all. The friendships that ended, the jobs that didn't last, the opportunities that slipped away. Each one was part of God's refining plan. Chosen women don't live by luck, they live by faith. They know that even when God seems silent, He's still working. When you're chosen, you begin to sense God in the details. A conversation, a dream, a sudden peace in your spirit. They all start to feel like messages from heaven. You realize that He's been speaking all along, just not in the ways you expected. You stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start asking, what is God teaching me through this? That shift changes everything. There's a deep rest that comes when you trust His timing. You stop forcing things to happen and start allowing God to lead. And when that happens, you'll look around and see that even the detours led to destiny. Because when you're chosen, your story isn't random, it's redeemed. Every chapter, even the painful ones, are being written by the author who never wastes a word. Number 6. You carry compassion and a burden for others' souls. One of the clearest signs that you're a woman chosen by God is that your heart breaks for what breaks His. You don't just feel sympathy, you feel burdened. When others suffer, you can't ignore it. When you see someone far from God, you feel compelled to pray. You carry within you a divine compassion that reaches beyond yourself. It's not weakness, it's spiritual strength, clothed in tenderness. Jesus said in Matthew 5:7, "Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy." That's the heartbeat of a chosen woman. Her empathy is not emotional instability. It's evidence of a heart that has been transformed by God's love. You've walked through pain, so you understand it when others do. You've been forgiven much, so you forgive quickly. You've been restored, so you long to see others restored too. This burden for souls might express itself through intercession, through acts of kindness, through ministry, or simply through the way you love people. You might find yourself praying for strangers, weeping for a friend's healing, or feeling called to comfort someone the world has forgotten. That's not just your personality, that's the Spirit of God moving through you. Look at Mary Magdalene, a woman delivered from darkness who could not stop worshiping Jesus. Or Deborah, a leader who fought not for herself but for her people. Or the Samaritan woman, whose encounter with Jesus turned her shame into a message that led others to salvation. Chosen women love deeply because they've been loved deeply. Sometimes this compassion can feel exhausting. You'll give more than you receive. You'll care when others seem cold. But remember this: compassion is not a burden you carry alone. It's the very heart of Christ beating within you. God has entrusted you with His tenderness because He knows you'll use it to heal, not to harm. So don't harden your heart when the world mocks your sensitivity. Keep loving, keep praying, keep interceding, because in a world growing colder by the day, a chosen woman's warmth is not a weakness, it's a weapon. It's proof that the Spirit of God still moves through those who are willing to love like He does. Number 7. You are being elevated spiritually, not just physically. When God chooses a woman, her elevation doesn't always begin on a stage. It begins in her spirit. The world measures success by visibility, but God measures it by transformation. Before He places you before people, He promotes you in your character. Before He enlarges your territory, He strengthens your heart. You may not see crowns or titles yet, but heaven already recognizes the authority you carry because of your obedience. This kind of elevation is quiet. It happens in the secret moments when you choose prayer over panic, forgiveness over revenge, faith over fear. It's when you stop reacting to what's happening around you and start responding to what's happening within you. You begin to discern God's will more clearly. You see spiritual battles more sharply. And you carry peace in places that used to trigger anxiety. That's elevation, not the kind that impresses the world, but the kind that shakes it. Think of Esther. Her rise to the throne wasn't about luxury. It was about leadership. God didn't place her in the palace to be admired, but to be positioned for purpose. Or consider Mary, who was chosen to carry the Savior. Her elevation was not a public reward, but a private assignment that changed eternity. Chosen women don't chase platforms. They prepare altars. They understand that the higher God takes you, the lower you must kneel. When you're being elevated by God, people might not understand it. They'll see you stepping into new levels of peace, wisdom, and faith. But they won't know the cost of the oil you carry. They won't see the nights you cried, the prayers you whispered, the pain you surrendered, yet all of it was necessary. Because spiritual sparatry is not given, it's grown. It's birthed through obedience, molded through fire, and crowned through surrender. So if God is calling you higher, to forgive deeper, to lead boldly, to love radically, don't resist it. This is your season of divine promotion. You may not be standing in front of crowns, but you are standing before the King. Your elevation is not about your status, it's about your stewardship. Because when a woman chosen by God rises, she doesn't rise to be seen, she rises to shine His light. Conclusion. When you truly begin to see yourself through the eyes of heaven, everything changes. You realize that you were never forgotten, never overlooked, never ordinary. Every moment, the joy and the sorrow, the clarity and the confusion, has been part of God's shaping hand on your life. You are not just another believer passing through this world. You are a chosen vessel, crafted for a divine assignment that carries eternal weight. Being chosen by God doesn't mean your life will be easy. It means your life will be meaningful. It means that while others chase comfort, you chase calling. While others seek applause, you seek His approval. While others build temporary kingdoms, you build what lasts forever. And every time you feel weary, every time you wonder if your obedience even matters, remember this. Heaven notices, heaven records, heaven rewards. You may not wear a crown of gold, but you carry a crown of grace. You may not lead army, but you wage battles in prayer. You may not stand behind pulpits, but your life preaches louder than words ever could. The world may never fully understand your path, but that's okay. It wasn't designed for them. It was designed for you, and for the one who walks beside you. So stand tall, daughter of God. The fire that tried to break you only purified you. The pain that tried to silence you only deepened your praise. The waiting that tested your faith only proved your worth. You are chosen not because you are perfect, but because you are willing, not because you have it all figured out, but because you keep saying yes. And one day, when you look back, you'll see what heaven saw all along. That every tear, every trial, and every triumph was part of the sacred story of a woman chosen by God. Keep walking, keep believing, keep becoming who He called you to be. Because the world needs to see what a chosen woman looks like when she finally steps fully into her purpose.